this year, instead of doing like one big video at the end of the year and being like, these are all the books I read, thought I'd do it monthly. I just feel like it'll be easier. That way I can go into more detail about each book. So in this video, we're going to be talking about all the books I read in January 2024. I started the year off strong. Go me, to be honest. I'm acting like the year's ended, but anyway. I read 6 books. So the first book I read was this one by Dr. David Jeremiah called Forward, Discovering God's Presence and Purpose in Your Tomorrow. Love this book. I was actually working downstairs. The TV was on, the Christian channel, and they were talking about the book. And I was like, oh, that sounds really interesting. Let me buy it. I was just about to buy it on Amazon. It looked to my right. It was on the bookshelf. Stunning. See, I read this. Such a good book to read, like, beginning of the year, beginning of the month, etc. It just reminded me to keep moving forward, which, I mean, it literally says it in the book. Also, this is the second one of his books I've read, and what I really like about the way he writes books, first of all, they're easy to read and understand. Second of all, he'll always put in, like, stories about different inventions. And in this book, he spoke about how the lady... Sometimes you just have to imagine something for it to come to pass. That's what that chapter was about. And he spoke about the lady who invented windscreen wipers. I mean, we all need windscreen wipers, but I've never even thought someone invented this. So yeah, really, really liked this book. Would recommend. And a quote, I wrote in my little book journal. Maybe I'll do another vlog and talk about this book journal. But anyway, there's plenty you can't do, but there's one thing we can all do. Follow God's deep desire for us to grow in the image of Jesus. Amen. Loved that book. So yeah, that was the first book I read. The second book I read was, I'm going to have it on the screen, it's an audio book from Spotify. Shout out to Spotify. Now, they added audio books some point last year, or maybe even before then, I don't know. But it was only in December, literally end of the year, where I thought, maybe I should get onto this. And I didn't think I'd be an audiobook kind of gal, but really do like them. They're just like podcasts, really. So yeah, and love that there's Christian books on there. I thought it'd be like celeb ones, which I do love and will be reading. But yeah, it was interesting. They've got like John Bevere books, Joyce Meyer books. So love that for Spotify. Anyway, the first book I read was called The Love Everybody Wants by Madison Pruitt Trout. Now, I'm not going to lie, a lot of this book I couldn't relate to. Like, it did open my eyes up though, because she was talking about like growing up, how much she really wanted to get married. And don't get me wrong, I do want to get married and have kids, but it's not like an idol in my life. Like, I'm not every day thinking about it. Yeah, I probably should think about it more, to be honest. But yeah, I did think this is quite interesting. One thing I do love about a book that you can't really relate to is that you can still learn, so that when you are talking to people who can relate to that thing, you understand it a bit more. But yeah, it was really good. It was about her life, hearing about her journey, her life. She was on The Bachelor as well. Who'd have thought? Not me. I'm just looking through the quotes I wrote down, and this one, love. People may come into your life for a season, but maybe they weren't meant to stay. So true. You know, sometimes you don't even fall out with a friend, you just grow apart, which is fine. But like recognising, do you know what? They helped me during that season. That season's over. We live and we learn. So yeah, really did enjoy that book. Would recommend. Not sure I'd read it, listen or read it again, but yeah, I did enjoy it nevertheless. So yeah. Okay, the third book I read was this one called The Love of My Afterlife by Kirsty Greenwood. I don't think this one comes out. I don't think this is out. Pretty sure this one comes out in June 2024, but I got it at work. It was on the bookshelf and I was like, stunning, let me read that, because I saw this and I thought, that looks pretty. Read it, I thought, oh, this sounds quite interesting. And one of the reviews say, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days meets The Good Place. Literally, I love The Good Place on Netflix. 10 out of 10 would recommend if you haven't watched it. And it kind of is that. Yeah, this is on the blurb bit. Basically, this girl, she's not really lived much of her life. She just kind of does the same thing every day. Then she dies and she goes to the afterlife heaven. Bumps into this guy who's her soulmate. And then the lady who's there is like, I'll give you 10 days to go back to Earth. Get him to fall in love with you. He doesn't even have to fall in love with her, actually. I think he just has to willingly kiss her and then she gets to live. And then that's kind of the story, but it's so good. There's actually some like LOL. I was actually laughing on the train, not like crying of laughter, but like laughing. It was a good little book. I really did enjoy it, and I'm pretty sure I read it in like 3 days, and that was literally just on the way to and from work. Yeah, actually I think I maybe have read it after work as well, like at home. But great book, funny, would recommend, out in June 2024, and I would read this again. Such a good storyline as well, and I just love this. So cute. Okay, the fourth book I read in January was this one called Crazy Love, Overwhelmed by a Relentless God by Francis Chan. Pretty sure I saw this on TikTok, took a screenshot and was like, I'm going to read this, and then I bought it. This book, it was so brilliant. Do you know what? It's one of those books that you read and you're like, what am I doing with my life? What am I actually doing? I need to change. I need to transform this mind. Such a good book. I feel like this didn't take me that long to read either. I mean, it's not that big. There were so many little bits in there where I'm just like, the biggest thing that stood out to me was I think it's like a chapter on lukewarm Christianity. And I thought lukewarm Christianity was what I used to be like, where you believe in God, you go to church every now and then if you feel like it. Yeah, that's what I thought it was. There were certain bits in this book and I thought, oh my gosh, that's explaining me right now. Yeah, let me try and find it. Lukewarm people do not live by faith. Their lives are structured so they never have to. They don't have to trust God if something unexpected happens. They've got their savings account. They don't need God to help them. They've got their retirement plan in place. They don't genuinely seek out what life God would have them live. They have life figured out and mapped out. They don't depend on God on a daily basis. Their refrigerators are full and for the most part they're in good health. The truth is, their lives wouldn't look much different if they suddenly stopped believing in God. Now, obviously, the book's not saying don't have your fridge stocked, don't have a retirement plan, etc., because the Bible literally talks about, you know, setting up your kids, grandkids, great-grandkids, etc. But that was quite interesting. The truth is, their lives wouldn't look much different if they suddenly stopped believing in God. Interesting. Because, you know, you start thinking of, like, friends, work friends, family, like, do I do things that Christians should do? You know? Am I acting like Jesus? Great book. Also, in my little journal, you know, like every now where it's like, we're the main character this, main character that. Well, the book reminded me that we're not. We were not there when the earth was laid. We were not there when God said, let there be light. We wasn't even alive 50 years ago. Wasn't alive 500 years ago. We're not the main characters. God is. He's been here. He is here and he will be. Really like this book. Very sobering. Did make me think as well, maybe I should read a sobering book every month because sometimes you need a little shaking, you know. The fifth book I read was Get Out of Your Head, Stopping the Spiral something of Toxic Thoughts. I can't remember what it's called. It's on the screen because it's an audio book. Now, this book was another one I saw on TikTok. And yeah, again, I didn't think I'd be able to relate to it. I mean, with the other one, I didn't relate to everything. It was a good, really, really good book. And I did really enjoy it. But with this one, I kind of went in there thinking, oh, I'm not going to be able to relate to, you know, toxic thoughts. And to be fair, when I think of toxic thoughts, I think of like evil thoughts. So maybe that's why. But this was another one I saw on TikTok, took a screenshot. When I found out about Spotify and the audiobooks, I was like, oh, let me have a look at this book. Found it, listened to it. It was so good. And the good thing about this is there's science involved. So it talks about, like, I don't know the scientific words, but you know, how your brain works. So that was interesting. It was like I was back at school learning science. And you know what? One thing this book has really helped me with is already I'm seeing a difference. Like a couple of weeks ago, I had to teach a life group, which is where at home, we do it on Zoom, but we like study the Bible, and I had to teach and I was like, oh my gosh. And on the way home, I was like before I had to do it, I was like, oh my gosh. And then I thought, wait a minute. I've got the mind of Christ. The Holy Spirit is my helper. God knew about this before I was born. He knew I'd have to do this. He knows everything. So it's just recognising, like, these thoughts, they're not evil, but those thoughts like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? You know, like those fear, anxiety. No, it's a no from me. So yeah, this book helped me recognise, wait, this is not in line with God's word. So I choose not to think this. That's a lot of what she says in the book. Like, we have a choice with our thoughts. So yeah, really enjoyed that book. Would actually recommend, would read it again. I think I'd actually buy the physical book just so I can like highlight and colour things out. I mean, I do have like a notes and I've written things down and took screenshots and stuff. But yeah, I think I would actually buy the physical book of this so I can like highlight and stuff. But yeah, really enjoyed that book. Really would recommend. I mean, I would recommend all these books. Well, let's move on to the sixth book. The sixth book was called Someone Like Me by Pam Francis. Not gonna lie, I wouldn't recommend this book. This is the lowest rated book I think I've read in, I can't even remember how long. Now, this is kind of my fault. Basically, it's called Someone Like Me, and on the it literally says it on the cover, so this is kind of my fault. It says, when your secret affair becomes front page news. I thought it was like a little, I don't know, a small town girl meets a celebrity, falls in love, and then she's got like family drama or something, and it all gets exposed in the papers, and that's the drama. I think I just skipped the affair bit. Yeah, wasn't a fan. purely for that. And I read it on the train and it's the only book I had. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to read it. And then when I get home, just not read it. That's how much I really didn't like this book. But then as I pulled up to my stop on the train to come home, I was halfway through the book. This is how quick I read the book. So halfway through the book and the affair came to light and I was like, I need to find out what happens to this girl because she needs to be put in her place. So I did actually read this book in a day because I thought I'm not wasting any more time on this book. I mean, I could have just stopped reading it, but I thought I need to know what happens. There was some random bits. Do you know what as well? I did start not skipping, but like I just started skimming some pages because I thought, oh my gosh, I don't really care about the design. Just get to the plot, get to the storyline. I mean, she's a 39-and-a-half-year-old woman, first of all. So she's grown, okay? She could have kids. She could be a nan at this point. Yeah, if she had a kid at 16 and the 16-year-old had a kid at 16, she could be a nan. She's a grown woman. She knew he was married as well. I thought, sick. Get some morals, get some grace and decorum. And yeah, I just really wasn't a fan, especially because of her age. I feel like if she was 20 and he wasn't married, obviously, fine. Even if she was 39-and-a-half and she met the married guy and then she met the famous guy, fine. But because she was married, it was just wrong. And she knew from the beginning he was married. And she just kind of feels sorry for herself. Like, I think this is honestly the only book I've ever read where I've really not liked the main character. There was nothing about her that was anything. She was an ag. That's what she was. Then at the end, the plot I don't even know what happened. It really reminded me of fanfic. That's what it was, giving fanfic vibes. Like, towards the end of the book, she just starts, I mean, spoiler alert, I wouldn't recommend this book, so I'm spoiling it. She just starts fancying the agent. I thought, what? There was no sign throughout the whole book. And then, before I end this little rant, so basically the celebrity guy who's married, he's got like a PA who's bit crazy and you think she's going to try and keep towards the end I thought, oh, maybe this is going to turn a bit dark, and I thought, just get this over with. It did not. She found out that the PA was trolling her on Twitter. It's really stupid, actually. Also, I thought, I mean, you are literally dating a married man, so anyway, you're not innocent in this. And then this is how the book ends. What the hell was she doing here? That was the manager. Yeah, she's not with the celebrity guy anymore. She randomly broke up with him at the very last minute because he answered the phone and was like, yeah, I'm not doing anything special, to someone else. Who cares? Anyway. And then she was like, oh, I handled it, as in the stupid assistant girl. And then he said, but then I didn't have any doubts you would, someone like you. I thought, this doesn't even make sense. Like, the book ended on the title and I thought, this isn't a flex. This isn't a, I get it now. There was nothing special about this main character. So, yeah, I wouldn't recommend. The only good thing that's come from this book is, one, I've read a book in a day. I mean, I've done that before, but anyway. And two, spice this video up a bit because the other books were amazing. This book will be, I don't even know if I should give it to the charity shop. I feel like no one should read this. I feel like authors need to not be doing immoral things like affairs and promoting it. It's not. Anyway, they are the 6 books I've read in January. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I certainly have, and I'm thinking, yeah, going forward, I'm definitely going to do that. Then maybe at the end of the year or middle of the year, I'll do like a roundup of the best books I read in the year, or the worst. Hoping for no more bad ones. One thing as well that I did learn from this, so silver lining to everything, is if I read a book like this again and I'm like, I'm not feeling it, I'm just gonna stop reading it. And instead just download something on Spotify and listen to that on the train. I don't know why I didn't do that. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I love ya, but I ain't staying here. Bye!